Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology, and everyone welcome into the program today because we have an amazing show planned for you. Well, I should say that, but let's face it, Ralph does all the work. Ralph has an amazing show planned for you today where he has 4 different stories, as is per usual. And if this is your first time hearing a segment from Ralph and here on Computer America, first of all, welcome. Second of all, it's a very fun show where Ralph brings us 4 different stories that are going to be in the fields of, in this case, robotics, farming. Yes, it's also high tech, high tech gadgets, and on top of that, some medical news. It's going to be a very nice potpourri of, different topics. And ladies and gentlemen, you definitely want to stick around to hear that. So before we get into that, though, computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, show notes, articles, podcasts, and of course, there's links to social media, links to our YouTube, all that good stuff. We are at Computer America on everything if you want to find us on social media, and of course over at YouTube as well. Where you can find our past shows and our video segments. The video segments, if you're listening to us as a podcast, we appreciate that. We try to make it as easy to listen to as possible, but at the same time, the video is going to add a little bit more. So definitely encourage you to check that out. But we'll get into the show notes, what they are, and what you can find out there in just a moment. Let's go ahead and bring Ralph on, and then we'll, kind of get into what we're going to do here. So he has become our science and tech trends correspondent, and, it's a segment that I really do enjoy because every Friday we bring you a segment that is on the lighter side that you might have missed. These stories don't exactly attract the front page of the newspaper, but hey, they're still very cool and very important. So Ralph, welcome back onto Computer America. How you been?
It's great to be back. And yeah, when you have a news world where everyone's on edge about what's going to happen in Iran or what's going to happen in Los Angeles, I mean, so many tensions and so many negative, scary stuff going on. Stories like these that we're going to share today do get lost because they're just not bubbling up into the news cycle, but they're so significant for the advancement of science and technology. And if you're new to the show, as Ben was saying, welcome. What Ben and I do each Friday, as he said before, we highlight 4 recent articles that show us key trends and developments in a whole range of things. Artificial intelligence, of course, robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, agricultural tech, and by the way, the first 2 stories today are in that category, space research, physics, you name it, all across the board. But most important of all, we're going to give you an oasis of positive, uplifting news thanks to the world of science and technology.
Absolutely. And like I said before, if you're listening to the podcast, we try to make it as easy to do that. But if you watch the video portion, we'll have video presentations, demonstrations. Some of the products that we talk about have videos that are associated with them. So yeah, we encourage you to come out and watch the video as well. And we put it up once, we mentioned it once, but we should probably mention it again. People may notice that 15% of the screen is now dominated by subtitles, which are very impressive for how good they are. So if you are a little bit hard of hearing, or you just rather read us than listen to us, then we aren't offended, and you can look at the video portion and you can see captions, which are pretty cool. So with all that being said, Ralph, let's go ahead and I think go to, I'm sure first thing Friday, everyone wants to hear about robotic centipedes. That is indeed what people are clamoring for. Yes. So Ralph, robotic centipedes, what's up?
Yeah, this is great. And by the way, if you think the field of farming, the world of farming is boring, wrong. there's so much wonderful technology being applied to the area of agriculture. And again, our first two stories fit that category. The first one, story one, comes from impactlab.com. That's a new outlet for me. I hadn't known of them before. Headline, Crawling Toward the Future, Robotic Centipedes Aim to Revolutionize Farming. Wow. And as Ben said, please come out and get the show notes at computeramerica.com, because we have pictures and links to videos and all this good stuff. And if you're listening to us, it's just not the full experience. So come on out and get the show notes. But I will, for our podcast listeners, try to describe what this robot looks like. Picture in your mind, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of modular segments connected with a flexible tube-like device. Almost reminds me of a dryer vent, a flexible dryer vent.
It's almost like a kid's toy, but it's much more substantial.
Oh yeah, it's a fascinating looking thing, and to see it in action in the video is even more compelling. So that's what we're talking about in terms of visuals. But let's get into the story. A giant robotic centipede may soon slither out of the lab and into U.S. vineyards and blueberry farms, offering a novel solution to the challenges of agricultural terrain. We're going to understand this more as we go into this. Developed by Atlanta-based startup Ground Control Robotics, this multi-legged machine draws inspiration from nature's most agile creepers, centipedes, and snakes. Unlike heavy, rigid agricultural machines, this multi-legged robot uses cable-driven limbs to shift thrust outward from its body, allowing it to flex and adapt as it crawls. And I cannot stress again how important it is to check out the videos, because it really brings this to life. You realize how incredible this little robot is. Now, the next thing to consider is the robot's head. It's equipped with a versatile sensor platform designed for precision in complex environments. Little side note here, when they talk about complex environments, if you're thinking about a vineyard or blueberry farm, a lot of times there's a lot of vines and tendrils and things going on that are difficult for a robot to maneuver without harming the plant. So that's the challenge that they're talking about. But the sensors, the options you have for sensors to put in the head of this crazy centipede robot include a hyperspectral cameras for detailed imaging across multiple wavelengths. Another thing you could have in the head, sensors to measure nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium levels in the soil, very important. Soil moisture sensors for monitoring hydration levels in the crops. And detectors to sense volatile organic compounds, which can indicate plant health or pest presence. Pretty amazing stuff, Ben.
Yeah, no, and just watching the video and listening to you, kind of talk about this thing, it's like obviously centipede-like robot, but they're also kind of heavily leaning into it. Just looking at the sensors they were talking about that they could put on it, and it essentially has like two. Not in this footage for watching the video, but it essentially has like two antenna that look like a centipede, even more so. That kind of like pincers that kind of come out from it. It's they've really leaned heavily into the making it look like a centipede, but to see it in action and to see it actually doing some of these things like in the field, it's a little bit different than some of the other stories that we do here on the show in this segment, because hey, it looks like it's I'm sure this is still early prototype version 1, and there can be infinite versions of this thing, but it's out there doing stuff in the field, and that's really impressive for a robot. Because Ralph, I think one of the other issues with robots is like they need very clean, sterile environments. I'm sure dust, dirt, debris getting into the robots is a problem. This thing, it's still, just like a proof of concept, but it's out there in the dirt. It's out there in the grass with bugs and all the disgusting stuff that we love nature for. And it's operating. It's very impressive.
Oh, yeah. You make some really, really good points. And it also reminds me that, friends, most of the time our stories are about early research, early prototypes, early and new ideas. And this one fits in that category. Now, they've created very compelling prototype machines, but this isn't something that's widely available right now. It's going to be coming. And I think it's a really interesting robot, to say the least. It's going on with the story here. It says the first major application of this robotic centipede is aimed at automating weeding and monitoring in perennial crops like blueberries, strawberries, and grapes, plants that grow in tangled, bushy rows, difficult for tractors or traditional robots to access. That's what was the motivation from the designers. Unlike many high-end agricultural machines that can cost tens of thousands of dollars, Ground Control Robotics, the company responsible for this robot, aims to price its Centipede robots in the $1,000 range. That's, in the world of agricultural equipment, a very attainable price.
Yeah.
That's not a prohibitive at all.
I could imagine that they're also pricing that because they assume that you're going to have multiple of these things. It's getting around, it's doing things, but it's not the quickest robot out there that we've seen. But yeah, to have swarms of robotic centipedes in your farm sounds fun, Ralph. And I got to say, for everyone out there watching the video portion, the favorite part of the video is probably this one right here, where he kind of picks up the whole thing and flips it over onto its back. And it, kind of undulates and gets back on its feet. Very Boston Dynamic-esque. Yeah.
It is like Boston Dynamics. You're right on target. And friends, if you're not familiar with Boston Dynamics, a famous robotics company in Massachusetts, check them out. So going on, the company envisions, and this is, you anticipated perfectly where we're going with this story. The company envisions future swarms of these robots working autonomously. Here's a key: day and night, to scout fields, detect early signs of plant disease, and eliminate weeds, freeing up human labor for higher value tasks. And to wrap it up here, Ground Control Robotics is exploring other possibilities, including disaster relief and even military operations where adaptable robots could navigate rubble, tunnels, or dense forests. So there's other possibilities beyond agriculture. I just love this show, or love this story, and I love the show, of course. But it's I love that scene you're showing right now where the robot's flipped over on its back and it can right itself. That's just, wow, it's remarkable.
Yeah, they definitely show the robot, kind of doing its paces out there in the field and in the laboratory, but to see it, out in nature and doing things, even pulling weeds, although I think that part needs a little bit of work based on their own video. But like we said, or like you said, this is, kind of an early prototype, and future robots can definitely come. Like, Ralph, it's, thinking back to however long we've been doing Computer America for, you get these stories that's like, okay, well, this is something that we're working on, and, maybe dozens and hundreds of other companies are out there trying to do the same thing. And it may seem impractical and not very efficient at first, but 5 years later, it's just kind of a normal thing. We saw that with, home security cameras, and we saw that with, car automation, car sensors, things that were cutting edge only in the top, $200,000 vehicles are now in every vehicle standard. Like, what is research today is just going to be mainstream in a couple of years. So right. Even if it's not giant bug-like robots, which kind of creep me out still, it may be something else. So very nice. Love to see it. And you said here that it has other uses like disaster relief, military operation, stuff like that. Maybe even colonoscopy. We'll see. Yeah, it's very good at getting into
miniaturized.
No. Same size. It's very good at what it does, Ralph. You'd be surprised. So there you go. Story number one. Story number two. Let's go ahead and get into, also farming to a little extent, but robotics and farming seems to be, like I was just saying long-windedly, robotics and farming is a match made in heaven. So story number two.
Yes, it is. And this is a really interesting one from Cornell University. And the headline here: soft robotic gripper injects leaves with precision. This will all make sense as we get into the story. But first, I want to give a word picture, especially for our podcast listeners. Think of something that looks like segmented bits of white PVC piping with an extension that goes out to a little kind of gripper-like device. It's very difficult to describe this in words, so please come out and get the pictures and see what we're talking about.
I would say the grippers kind of look like almost like a shower door wheels or anything like a wheel that goes on a track, but it's like a wheel shape, hourglass shape, and it just kind of rolls it between the two. So
and the essential thing to understand, folks, is that this is a robotic arm with this gripper attachment. The whole idea is how can we inject materials or sense things in delicate leaves without damaging them for monitoring purposes. So that's kind of the essentials. With that said, let's get into the story. Tools that offer early and accurate insight into plant health and allow individual plant interventions are key to increasing crop yields as environmental pressures increasingly impact horticulture and agriculture. So in response to this challenge, Cornell University researchers have developed a soft robotic device. The soft part's in the gripper itself, not the armature that we talked about that looks like PVC pipes. So the researchers have developed a soft robotic device that gently grips and injects living plant leaves with sensors that help it detect and communicate with its environment. The robot can also inject, this is really cool, the robot can also inject genetic material that could be used for bioengineering plants in the future. The device allows for safe, repeatable delivery of sensors and genetic material in a reliable, plant-safe way, an essential step in precision data-driven agriculture. Precision data-driven agriculture. That's what's part of the technology in the world of agriculture that's so cool. And by implanting, get this, Ben, by implanting sensors into leaves, researchers can monitor the impact of drought or an overdose of fertilizer on the plant. I'd like to have that for my backyard. I need that.
Yeah. No, maybe something like this. Maybe I could keep a houseplant alive. And
Yes,
I
yes.
don't know where we're off, but like the need for this really brought to mind a video that kind of went viral a week or so ago. And if you're watching the video portion, you can see it there, but you might remember it. This one's from the New York Post YouTube channel, but it was two scientists working with a robot, and it kind of when they were talking about the need for delicate, this robot that just freaks out and almost destroys the lab and the people working on it.
Wow.
You can see how easy, non-delicate roboting
Yes.
is. Delicate
Yes.
roboting, very difficult.
Yeah, so when you're talking about injecting things into leaves of a living plant, that's a very delicate procedure. So going on with the story here, it says to demonstrate, the team used the gripper to deliver two types of probes. The first, called aquadust, is a tiny gel particle that glows brightly in response to water stress, allowing researchers to non-invasively monitor a plant's hydrogen levels. That's pretty sophisticated just to monitor that. And the second probe is called Ruby, R-U-B-Y, is a gene-encoded biological reporter that causes red pigmentation to appear where genetic transformation occurs within the plant. So it's also for this whole gene editing effort in agriculture, which I think is really, really cool. And the researchers tested the device on sunflower and cotton leaves, plants known for their structural resistance to infiltration. The gripper achieved more than 91% success in delivery of the different agents that we talked about a moment ago, while causing significantly less damage than syringe-based methods and expanding the effective infiltration area by more than 12 times over traditional methods like syringe-based injections. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then to wrap it up, in the long term, similar grippers could be used to deliver or retrieve other diagnostic materials, including sensors for nitrogen uptake, disease presence, or even real-time metabolic changes, opening new possibilities for smart agriculture and plant research. Smart agriculture, you got to love that.
Yeah, it's, we were just talking about smart houses and smart things, and I guess, plants telling you real time, Ralph, instead of the farmer going out there and looking at the plants or using expertise or maybe noticing or not noticing. I could imagine all of the crops and all the farming that could be saved if you catch it early and take care of a problem early.
You got it. Absolutely. Sense. And the last little nugget here, the team is now exploring the integration of the gripper onto robotic arms for automated greenhouse systems with the long-term goal of adapting it for field deployable platforms. So this is early, it's experimental, but they've got a great roadmap in mind.
I'm curious if they want to, and Ralph, what's one of the trends that we don't hear as much about anymore. But I think will still be kind of a steady drumbeat in the background, will be the idea of essentially hydroponics, where they have like these farms that are all,
Oh
on an
yeah.
industrial scale. They're all
Yeah.
indoors. They're using,
Yes.
kind of indoor growing methods, Ralph. I could imagine a robot like this or technology like this being integrated into facilities like that to further reduce the need for human intervention to these, to the plants.
Yeah.
And Ralph, like, it takes little technology, bumps like this to maybe one day have completely autonomous growing fields where, and especially indoors and vertical farming and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Hey, Ralph, if we ever consider that we have ourselves a food shortage, a food issue, having just essentially a completely fully automated, you plant the things, or even the robots plant the things, they grow the things, they monitor the things, they harvest the things, and it just spits out food. I mean, hey, I know a lot of people that would love that. So
Oh yeah.
it's totally possible, and hey, early research, but early research that is much needed. So story number 2.
Absolutely.
Yep. So story number 2, story number 3, we're going to get a little bit different, and we're going to talk about robot. No, wait. Oh, wait. Same thing. Okay. No, but same thing, different place, different goal. So let's talk about robots, and this one uses some of these robot dogs, which I think a lot of people should be fairly familiar with.
Yes.
They Ralph, those things made headlines everywhere, and then they decided, hey, we can knock that off pretty cheaply. And I don't know if you looked at the price of these things, Ralph. You could actually get one for like $200 or $300. Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, they're not the most expensive things, and they're really cool, the little robot dogs. But
Yeah.
regardless,
Yeah.
this is not about the robot dog. This is about what they strap to the
Yes.
robot dog. This is
Exactly
the cool part.
right.
So story number 3.
This is a good one. So for people like us, microphones are a big part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And this story comes from bioengineer.org. And the headline here is Seoul National University College of Engineering researchers. So we're talking about South Korea. Seoul National University College of Engineering researchers unveil world's first 3D microphone with single sensor position estimation. Okay, this is pretty geeky, little geek out warning here up front, but I think really, really interesting. And as you point out, it's got a little dog robot that looks like a Boston Dynamics robot, but they've got this incredible microphone system strapped to the top of it to make a point. And we'll explain that in just a moment. So in a significant breakthrough in auditory technology, researchers at Seoul National University College of Engineering have developed an innovative system that allows for the detection and recognition of human positions using a single microphone. And if you're going, what? Just stay tuned, we'll explain. This pioneering work paves the way for new sound-based interactions between humans and robots, especially in challenging industrial environments where noise often hinders clarity. So what we're talking about here is you take a factory environment, very noisy, maybe think of an automobile plant or something like that, where you've got all kinds of ambient sound and banging sounds and grinding, you name it, just a noise. Picture a noisy industrial environment. That's where we're going with this story. So sound has long been recognized as a crucial source of information, particularly in environments where visual modalities or electromagnetic-based communication can fail due to various obstacles such as dust, smoke, or extreme temperatures. You add that into the mix as well. However, traditional acoustic sensing technologies have often been hampered by accuracy issues or necessitate complex and expensive configurations that hinder practical industrial applications. As a result, the potential of sound as a sensing resource remains largely untapped. So, Ben, that's the big, long-winded setup here, is what the challenge was and what they were looking to do.
I mean, it's largely untapped, but also it's something that, in my very limited work history, working in a factory, it's actually one of the things, Ralph, that like you use almost the most as a person, because like, you're hearing, is the reactor still going? Is the, is the centrifuge still running? Like really there are sensors. Yes, it'll tell you. Yes, there are lights and stuff like that. But sound is such a great way to
Yes.
detect things. But like the article said, it's just not good for computers or any other automated system because it's not accurate. So
Yeah. Well,
makes
what
perfect
you're going
sense.
Oh yeah, and what you're going to find out as we continue to unfold the story is it's not only to hear things, but to locate things. We'll get to that in a second here. So this innovation from the Seoul National University College of Engineering seeks to change that paradigm by leveraging advanced auditory technologies that can effectively operate in high noise scenarios. In developing this technology, the researchers drew inspiration from the auditory mechanisms found in, guess what? No surprise, bats and dolphins, renowned for their remarkable ability to navigate and communicate through sound, as we all know. The research team's new system, dubbed the 3D Acoustic Ranging, or 3DAR, utilizes a meta-structure design that integrates an acoustic perception capability to pinpoint the three-dimensional positions of human beings, or objects. Let me say that again. This is really interesting, right? Utilizes a meta-structure design that integrates an acoustic perception capability to pinpoint the three-dimensional positions of human beings or objects, even amidst overwhelming background noise. Let that sink in for a second. That's just remarkable.
And if it takes a little bit longer to sink in, Ralph, I will just say that I am constantly impressed by the closed captioning. It picked up every word that you picked up.
It is wonderful. And you made
crazy.
a great point. You made a great point early in the show about for people who may have hearing difficulties and so forth who need the closed captioning. It's just wonderful. It just blows my mind. Going on here, though,
No, I just want to say real quick that this actually seems to, take inspiration from dolphins and bats. But Ralph, I think a technology that people may be more familiar with if they have home theaters or they have these sound bars and stuff like that.
Yes.
Beamforming is actually a technology that they use to kind of broadcast. Like, I don't know if you've gone through the setup process of these sound bars, but they kind of, depending on the shape of your room and the walls and all that good stuff, you can actually adjust it to send more sound in certain places. So it seems like they're taking almost like home theater technology, and then of course even more technology because they're researchers, and creating this as well. So very cool.
Yeah, it is. It's remarkable. And going on here, it says the core functionality of the 3DAR system they've created lies in its ability to enable distinct communication pathways through sound waves. So we're talking now about communication. So one thing is location. The other part of it's communication, allowing both humans and robots to interact effectively in environments that are otherwise prohibitively challenging. To further enhance the utility of the sensor, the research group designed a dual acoustic channel that separates audible and inaudible frequencies we as humans can't hear. The design not only facilitates communication between humans and robots using sounds that are within human hearing ranges, but also allows for robots to converse with one another using sound frequencies that remain inaudible to human ears. What? That is so cool, right? So you got this kind of dual thing going on. If sounds that we can perceive and deal with and interact with the robots, but sounds that we can't hear, the robots are using to talk to each other. What?
If that sounds confusing, we put a picture up on the screen for you. The picture is probably not much clearer than the than the explanation.
Very geeky,
but very geeky picture. But still, Ralph, I what immediately jumps to mind is to a person. If you said, "Hey, help over here," a person knows, okay, well, kind of over there. Okay. If a robot hears that, they might not know what over here means. They can't really follow the direction and have a spatial awareness of the audio. Maybe with this though, hey, if you shout, "Hey, help over here," or "over here," the robot will just know in its little robot intuitive way to head over in the direction of the sound. And that is very important.
And you can picture the AI robots of the future using their frequency that we can't hear, saying, "Oh, it's that guy again. Now what does he want?" That's
Talk
pretty
and
fun.
smack. Absolutely. That's what robots do.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then to wrap it up here, such a dual channel design minimizes possible interference between channels, ensuring smooth and efficient communications in various industrial scenarios. So very geeky, kind of hard to absorb the whole premise of what's going on. But the more and more you think about it, it's just
Yeah.
a remarkable achievement.
It's something that kind of humans do naturally because, luckily we have 2 ears. It's a pretty cool little adaptation that we have, Ralph.
Yes.
And we can kind of, determine where things are based on our kind of dual channel listening devices that we have. Giving robots the same capabilities will just let them operate in the same space. So it makes perfect sense. And of course, just from a single point, even more so. Very, very cool. Story number 3, and look forward to that technology being worked into a lot of other technology as well. Story number 3, we're going to go ahead and jump on down to story number 4, and we're going to talk about, ALS. That's, if I'm not mistaken, was the whole thing behind the Ice Bucket Challenge a couple of years ago. It's this horrible, horrible disease that so many people are affected by. And it's curing it and finding a way to prevent it is one thing, but then helping those who have it deal with the symptoms of it is really a big field of research as well, as we've seen over the years.
Yes.
Well, this one is helping people talk with ALS, and Ralph, I'll go ahead and let you do the story, but it's impressive how, Ralph, just a couple of years ago, I was talking about the advancement of technology. Just a couple of years ago, imagine Stephen Hawking. He had to hunt and peck and search for words. He had an assistant that was constantly looking at letters that he was doing, trying to help formalize ideas. And that was just 10 years ago. Now we are so far advanced, and story number 4 really highlights that.
It sure does. And by the way, folks, usually what Ben and I do is end the official 4 stories with something from medical technology, and this certainly fills the bill. This comes from the University of California, Davis campus team. Headline, first of its kind technology helps a man with ALS speak in real time. Subhead, new brain-computer interface system enables faster, more natural conversation. And in the image in the show notes and in the article, you can see this probe inserted into the skull of this man and so forth. We'll talk about how they might be able to streamline that more in the future. But let's get into this. Researchers at the University of California, Davis, have developed a brain-computer interface that holds promise for restoring the ability to hold real-time conversations to people who have lost the ability to speak due to neurological conditions. Wow. In a new study published in the scientific journal Nature, the researchers demonstrate how this new technology can instantaneously translate brain activity into voice as a person tries to speak, effectively creating a digital vocal track with no detectable delay. Wow.
Incredible.
To your point, imagine if Hawkins had something like this. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, the system allowed the study participant who had amyotrophic, I hope I said that right, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, aka ALS, to speak through a computer with his family in real time, change his intonation, and sing simple melodies. So it's more than just speech. Change his intonation, if I could say it, and sing simple melodies. Wow.
Yeah, so it can even hold a note, which you can imagine a neuron, part of brain activating. You're like, okay, that's the letter dog or letter D, word dog, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. But then to be able to kind of just hold that one note for a certain amount of time, that's something I don't think I've ever heard of a system like this being able to do. Is kind of like hold something for an amount of time. That is a breakthrough.
I agree. I'm not a total all-knowing being, but I've not heard of this before either. So I think you're right about this being particularly significant. Going on to say his ability, the patient again in this case, his ability to communicate through a computer has been made possible with an investigational, again, early research, investigational brain-computer interface. It consists of 4 microelectrode arrays surgically implanted into the region of the brain responsible for producing speech. And that's what the picture in the article shows. These devices record the activity of neurons in the brain and send it to the computers that interpret the signals to reconstruct voice. Wow. The brain-computer interface was able to translate the study participants' neural signals into audible speech played through a speaker very quickly. Get ready, very quickly, 1/40th of a second. That's the lag time, 1/40th of a second.
Almost no delay, yeah.
I don't think we could perceive it. I don't think so. Wow. And to wrap it up, his brain-computer interface synthesized voice was often intelligible. So that's the next challenge. How well can you understand it as a listener? Listeners could understand almost 60% of the synthesized words correctly, as opposed to 4% when he was not using the brain-computer interface. If this doesn't leave you feeling better about where we're going in the future with medical technology, I give up. This is a great way to end today's official show.
It really is, and I can even imagine with some of the recent advancements in AI, of course, Ralph, the ability to train AI on even just small samples of being able to upload videos or show recordings of people's voices and then be able to train that. I mean, they could definitely have this man's own voice be the one to communicate with people in almost real time.
That's right.
It's again, I don't know why Stephen Hawking is just like my go-to thinking of like someone who had to deal with this type of prosthesis and kind of live life the way he did. And Ralph, it seems like 50 years ago, that technology, because I mean it was developed 50 years ago, but leaps and bounds in recent years. So very lovely story to end on. But for those who have been following along in the show notes that are available at Computer America by the time that you hear this, well, you may notice that's not the end of the show notes, and that's okay. We try to keep the show a little bit tighter, a little more condensed for easier listening. But that means that Ralph finds way more stories than, just the 4. It's okay. There's more good news out there. And if you want to find that good news, it's over at, okay, I didn't mean that to sound like, have you heard the good news? No. Over at Computer America, you can find the honorable mentions at the bottom of the show notes. The second half, Ralph has 4 honorable mentions. And yeah, we're going to give you the headlines and then come on out to Computer America. You can find the links, find out more. We highly encourage you. These are great stories, just as good as the first 4. So Ralph, let's go ahead and give them the headlines.
Yes, this is great. The first one comes from PennState, their newsroom on their website. So PennState headline. This is really, really interesting stuff, but very geeky. World's first 2D non-silicon computer developed. Wow. This is very geeky, very interesting. Check it out, guys. The next one is from realityplus.com. And this is more just kind of fascinating and fun in the area of robotics. Get this. China's largest relocation project. You must see the video. Please come get the show notes. This is one of the most compelling things I've ever seen. Robots relocate 7,500-ton historical complex. We're talking about a portion of a neighborhood. And when you see the video, it all comes to life. It's just amazing. Check it out.
I want to click on it to show people, but yeah, I want them to come out, but to check out the show notes. But let's just say the video is it's only 15 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. I encourage you to go check it out. And it's an entire neighborhood moving. It is incredible.
Up and moved. It's just like, what? Next one from earth.com, turning CO2 into cement. A new path to greener construction. And if you think construction industry is boring in technology, wrong. It's unbelievable what's going on. And then our last honorable mention from climatecosmos.com. Headline, your next flight could run on algae inside the biofuel revolution and Climate Cosmos. So we've talked about this before, alternatives, ways to make jet fuel. And we have mentioned algae before, but if you want to refresh on this, I particularly like this article because it kind of wraps it all up into one package.
Absolutely. And again, just highlighting the trends that, the topics that we talk about Ladies and gentlemen, that's why Ralph's segments are actually very fun, and we like to kind of separate them from the rest of our segments, is that, sometimes we talk about printers that just came out 2 years ago, and maybe it's not the most relevant thing anymore, but sometimes, especially with Ralph, these stories stay relevant for years and years to come. So a play on analogy, good run around. And Ralph, I want to thank you so much for putting this together and putting these shows together for us. It's very, very fun. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, computeramerica.com. If you want to find out more information, we have a whole segment right at the top for Ralph Bond, and you can find all of his past segments as well. Give those a listen if you are looking for more. So until next time, Ralph, thank you so much. Everyone out there for listening, thank you for tuning in. We will catch you here next time. And until then, have a great day. Thank you so much. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.